Welcome to the course Ancient Indian Management. In this video, we are going to discuss management lessons from Ramayana. Ramayana is a guide to human resource management, political administration, and self-discipline with a lot of ethical principles. Political administration in Ramayana is appreciated even today when we use the term Ramrajya, meaning the best state of governance. Next management lesson is honoring your commitments. Honoring commitment is there at each and every step of the story. Whether this is a commitment to Queen Kekai, who is shown as a bad woman in the epic, commitment to father's oath, or commitment to a brother like Rama. This is the commitment that Lakshmana shows. Commitment of a wife towards husband, shown by Sita for Ram. These kinds of commitments we see in the story. It teaches us fulfilling commitments under whatever circumstances we may face. It should be understood by all the managers, executives, and employees of an organization. You must put all efforts to honor your commitment. If we see strong commitments in the epic by Dasharatha, Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, and Hanumana, there are also examples of weak commitments. For example, Vibhishana's commitment to his brother. Ramayana also teaches us how to lead. So leadership management lessons. Like a true leader, Rama created leaders during his journey to save Sita. And in the corporates also, all leaders should work towards that common organizational goal with all their strength and commitment. Mainly we see leaders in Ramayana like Rama, Sita, Ravana, Sugriva, who give us different techniques to lead the followers. Delegation. Delegation of responsibility. This is what we learn from Ramayana. Rama was also responsible for delegating the right responsibility to the right person appropriately. Hanumana was given the responsibility to find out where Sita was in Lanka, whereas Nal and Neel, they were kept busy in designing and building the bridge from India to Sri Lanka. Ramayana also shows the balance between the two, authority and responsibility. Rama, being the prince, had all the authorities, but at the same time he was responsible enough towards the throne. He was responsible enough towards the people of the state. He left his beloved Sita in this fight of authority and responsibility. See how great this sense of authority and responsibility was in him. So when we talk about teamwork, building the bridge is the live example of that teamwork. And this bridge is an engineering marvel even today, which could be built from India to Sri Lanka, which was not an easy task. It needed manpower and teamwork, which was contributed by all the monkey soldiers and their leaders, including Sugriva, Jamavant, Hanumana, Nal, and Neela. And different components of the team, they were kept together by a leader like Rama. When it comes to time management, it is also to select appropriate time for an event. Rama waited during the whole Chaturmas, whole rainy period, before he started the excavation of Sita. We see that Rama and Bharata were half brothers. He set a wonderful example of time management by planning all the events very well and managed to reach on time before Bharat. This is important for each and every executive in the organization to keep a track of the time that he or she spends in the organization, so that production is given on time and delivery of the products and services to the customers are on a right track, so that there is no risk of losing them. Disaster management. Disasters in Ramayana are Lakshmana's illness, Sita's kidnapping, mishap with Sugriva. So all these disasters teach us how to take decisions at the time of that disaster, so that there is the minimal loss to the organization. When we talk about crisis management, many of the moral and ethical dilemmas presented in this epic relate to the difficult trade-offs. Just to name a few of them were Dasharatha's right to honor his promise of granting 2 boons to the wife Kekai, when the kingdom would have been benefited from the wise rule of his eldest son Rama. We can question his choice, whether he was right in giving the rule to Bharata just to maintain personal integrity. And was Rama right to accept his father's wishes and accept the exile of 14 years? Or should he have performed his duty towards the people of the state? Hanumana's decision to take the whole mountain to Lakshmana to save his life. This is a live example of disaster management. But we should not forget that these decisions were taken as per the environment of that era, and the crises were handled by the characters of the story according to the environment of that era. In Ramayana, it is shown how conflicts are solved by Lord Rama. Conflict between Sugriva and Bali is solved. Then the conflict between Kaikeyi and Dashratha. Then Vibhishana's inner conflict. All these kinds of conflicts are shown in Ramayana, and we see that they are solved by Rama. When it comes to emotions management, we see how emotions are managed by all the characters in Ramayana. When Rama decided to go to the forest, giving up the kingdom, no emotions were shown to the people around him. Be it his father, be it his mother. He did not even show his feelings to Sita, his wife. But it is not that the emotions were not existing, but the management was so strong that they were not shown to the people around him. There must have been a chaos in the mind of the hero of the story, Rama, from whom his very purpose of life has been snatched away. Even in front of his mother Kaushalya, he appears in full control of himself, because as a son he does not want his mother to know that he is disturbed. And now Sita's emotions. She is also deeply distressed with sorrow, but Lakshmana is open. He gives vent to his anger and starts speaking of killing all the people who are responsible for this. Even when you are deeply troubled, you are supposed to stay calm in front of your executives and employees. Rama and other characters who accompany him to the forest are not the slaves of their emotions. They proceed to do what they must do. In short, we can say that emotion management is commitment to one's duty, rising above emotions. And once you have mastered your emotions, you can do whatever you want to do. You can accomplish your goals very easily. You can become a good leader only if you know how to manage disasters, if you know how to manage crisis, if you know how to manage conflict, and if you know how to manage your emotions. Next is event management. What kinds of events do we see in Ramayana? First is Sita Swayamvara. Second is wedding of Rama and Sita. Third is Rama Rajyabhisheka. Fourth, Rama returning to Ayodhya. We see them at grand scale in Ramayana. Human resource management. This can be seen everywhere in Ramayana. If we start from the human resource management concepts, selection of people for the right task, how to recruit them, all this is well seen at the time of bridge building. And this can also be seen when Rama tries to join hands with the army of monkeys. Rama knows very well how to manage the human resource. Even during his exile, when he had to manage Sita and Lakshmana, who were younger to him, and he was acting as the senior most of the organization. And Lakshmana's anger is well known, but Rama managed that also. He used to calm him down, and he also knows how to delegate the responsibilities. He delegated the responsibility of bringing Sanjeevani to Hanumana to save Lakshmana's life. And appropriate selection of resources at the time of bridge building is also one example of good human resource management in Ramayana. Then risk operations. If we continue with the same story of Hanumana bringing the whole mountain to cure the character Lakshmana, then we see that the risk operations were carried very well in that era. Hanumana exhibits excellent skills of decision making at this risky a time. If he could not identify the medicine, he brought the whole mountain. Of course, he was a superhero who could do that. But even today in the corporates, we must have those decision-making skills at the time of any risk for the organization. And this is not only for the managers. This was not only for Rama. This is also for the executives. We also see the advertising pattern of that era. How the information about Rama and Sita's wedding was spread in the state. Rama was good in setting the mission also. They need to understand that mission accomplishment is the only goal of the organization. Rama was one of the greatest managers in India. He accomplished his mission by showing commendable managerial skills. We can say that Ramayana is such a great treasure that it can throw light on how to manage day-to-day affairs effectively in organizations. You will study Ramayana with the management interpretation of the epic. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.